Welcome back to the Pittsburgh Sports Saviors. It is July 2nd, Wednesday night, about 8 o'clock. Lee, how you been? How you doing?
I've been all right. I'm doing all right. How about yourself, bud?
I'm doing pretty good. We got some news. We got some big news this week.
Yeah.
A trade going down, a trade that I don't think anyone was expecting. I don't know, maybe you were, but on June 30th, the Steelers traded Minka Fitzpatrick and a 2027 fifth round pick for Jalen Ramsey, tight end Jonnu Smith, and a 2027 seventh round pick. So nothing in this next draft, but the draft after is when these picks get played. But I'm just going to open the floor to you. What are your opening thoughts on this trade?
Yeah, I'm shocked because I look at Minka as one of the staples of our defense, and the
Mm-hmm.
fact that we actually traded him from originally from
Yeah.
Miami to come here, and now
Uh-huh.
he's getting traded back to Miami where he was originally at. And I it's cool. At first, I didn't know what we had given away.
Yeah,
When I
exactly.
saw that, Jalen Ramsey was coming, I was like, "Oh man, they're really making moves." Like I don't know what Omar Khan's doing, but this man, he's making some things. But then when I saw Minka, I'm thinking to myself, what is going on? Like he's supposed to be one of the best guys we have on defense, and
Mm-hmm.
nothing against Jalen Ramsey. I think Jalen Ramsey is a very good cornerback, but I thought that if we were at least going to trade for a safety, we should at least got a safety back. But now I don't know how we're going to be looking on safety wise. I was kind of shocked. I think it's. I thought that maybe Minka was a guy that they thought was a vital role to the defense, but maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know what they're gonna do and how they're gonna set up. You have to think that they're gonna try to get Ramsey, Slay, and Porter on the field a lot together. So maybe that means you're gonna see a little less from other guys that you would be your safety, like the normal safety position that you would expect to see someone at. Of course, you have Deshaun Elliott that's still going to be out there at safety on the other side. But yeah, I don't know how they're going to fill it. I don't know if they're going to try to fill it with Ramsey. It'll be interesting to see. I think that it's possible that's the move is to move Ramsey to safety, but we'll see. He's 30 years old, so I mean he's getting up there a little bit in age.
Yeah.
Minka 28. Just to I guess go through a little bit of each of these guys that in the trade. Minka 28 years old. The last couple years, 2022 was his best year recently. Yeah, 15 games, he had 96 tackles, 11 pass deflections, 6 interceptions, including a defensive touchdown, which was a very good season for him there. The next couple seasons, and it's been since Terrell Austin's been in play, it hasn't been as impressive for him. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's the way that he's been playing. I think that's the case. But what are your thoughts on how Mink has been looking lately for the Steelers?
Yeah. I mean, since we got him, the first couple of years we had him, I mean, he was definitely, having some very, pretty good years. And then, I mean, the stats don't lie. I mean, what we've seen over the past couple of years with him, it hasn't been the Minka that we're used to with a whole bunch of
Mm-hmm.
interceptions, maybe a couple defensive touchdowns, maybe, a lot more tackles. I mean, I think even the one year, even though he didn't do well, I think he still led the league or the team at least in tackles. I
Yeah,
think at least one of the years, but
yeah.
he,
Last year, he had 106 combined tackles,
yeah,
one interception, and then 2023 had 96 tackles, one interception again there. He's been a Pro Bowler in each of these seasons too, but it was a different type of. He went from being a playmaker to a guy who seemed to be just the last line of defense and
hmm
was just there to make some tackles at the end. Um, I, I think he's still a great player.
yeah.
I honestly believe that it's the system that what they put him in place in. But maybe if they're not going to be able to utilize him well, it makes sense to get rid of him. I know. I don't know. I think he was the best player in this trade, but maybe I'm wrong.
No, I agree. Again, as much as I think Jalen Ramsey is very talented, I don't think he's become the player he has in his earlier years. I mean, Yeah, he's 30. He's still kind of young, but like you said, he's getting up there. And I don't think we've seen what I guess we're used to seeing with Jalen Ramsey as well, especially when he started with Jacksonville, and then maybe his first year with the Rams. But we're not seeing what we usually see with him either. But I definitely agree. I think that Minka was the best player in his trade, and we definitely got rid of the best player, in this trade. Maybe, like you said, it's Terrell Austin's scheme, whatever he's running for his defense, that maybe it just wasn't working out, with things, and we weren't seeing what we're used to. And maybe they have a different plan in play for Jalen Ramsey. Maybe I don't know. I maybe they're going away with his scheme of safeties, but I feel as though I think you need somebody in the backfield. But I don't know. Maybe like you said, they're going to have a different role for Jalen Ramsey coming up in this upcoming season. So we'll just have to wait and see how things play out. But I just think that we lost the best player in this trade.
Yeah, Ramsey last year, 60 tackles, 11 pass defense, only 2 interceptions. He had a sack. He didn't make the Pro Bowl. It was his 7th career Pro Bowl. The year before, he missed some time with injury. He ended up playing a total of 10 games. He had a torn meniscus. In that season, he had 10 games, 3 interceptions. He was named to the Pro Bowl that year too. It looks like I got to check in on that. But then the year before, in 2022, he played in 17 games, just 2 interceptions again. Wait, that's incorrect. The stats are all messed up here. He ended up making an All-Pro that season, so I'm assuming he had more than 2 interceptions. I have to check in on that real fast. The other guy in the trade, though, Jonnu Smith, is a tight end. The last couple of years, he's been in different spots. Last year was definitely his best career year for him with the Dolphins. He ended up with 88 catches for 884 yards and 8 touchdowns. He earned his first Pro Bowl nod. Prior to that, he was with the Falcons and the Patriots at different times in his career. Not as productive in those environments, but in general, he's a guy who can be a playmaker at the tight end spot. I guess it's going to take some time to see where he'll fit in, but it's a guy that Arthur Smith was really a big fan of.
Yeah, and that was another thing I was shocked of is are they going away with Freiermuth too with bringing in a tight end? I mean, I thought that maybe
I think they're going to play them both. They're going to have different
it'd be like that. Maybe it could be like that Patriots offense they had with Gronk and Aaron Hernandez at the same time. They had both tight ends out there on the field. I mean, maybe this is something that they may possibly do.
Washington play too. I think they're going to have to play 3 tight ends a lot. I don't know.
Yeah.
We've been talking about the receiver room. I guess this kind of is a way of fixing the lack of depth at receiver if you're going to play more tight ends on the field in general, right?
Yeah, no, that definitely makes sense for sure.
Yeah, I think that's something we can see here. I don't know. Jonnu Smith had a great year last year. I just don't believe in the Steelers' ability to get that kind of production from a tight end. I think that you have to give credit to Mike McDaniel. I think he's an offensive genius. I know the Dolphins tend to fall apart late in seasons, but I think you've got to give him credit for the way that he used Smith, and I doubt that Arthur Smith is going to use Jonnu Smith in the same way, and we're going to get that same kind of production. I don't know what your thoughts on that are.
No, I definitely agree with you. And when you think about it, Mike McDaniel is definitely more of an offensive. He's an offensive guy. Mike Tomlin's a defensive guy, and I mean, I get that, like we just talked about the wide receiver room being the way it is, but for us to actually have Mike Tomlin give away one of the best players on our defense for 2 other guys like this, it just makes me think that maybe there's something else going on. Maybe Mike Tomlin's in the hot seat because they need to win more games because they've been getting to maybe the first round of the playoffs and losing, or haven't been getting there at all. And maybe they're trying to bring in more weapons because, like you said, the wide receiver room is as scarce as it is right now. But I agree. I think that you have to give credit to where credit is due with Mike McDaniel for Jonnu Smith. I don't know if that same impact is going to happen, like you said, again with Arthur Smith. I mean, he has a losing record as a head coach with the Falcons. I mean, he was a decent offensive coordinator with the Titans, but we haven't seen much And again, it's his first year. It was his first year with the Steelers as the offensive coordinator, but maybe he has different schemes and different plans. But I know the Steelers are in a win now situation because of how things have been going over the past few years since the loss of Big Ben. But I just don't know where the direction they're going. I'm hoping in a positive way, but it's interesting that they got rid of one of their best defensive players right now.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess that's the question. Do you see this team as being better today than they were before the trade? Where do you have them?
I think they're right now with this trade. I just think they're maybe a little bit worse than where they were, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
I think that they're better.
Okay,
but I don't think I think it's marginally better, and the reason I'm saying that is because of the way they were utilizing Fitzpatrick in the last couple of seasons in the system. He wasn't the impact guy that we would hope that he would be, that he has shown himself to be in the past. I think that you can get a little bit more out of Ramsey on defense. And then with Smith, I don't think he's going to have the season he had with the Dolphins, but it's still another weapon. If you look at his highlight reels, he's a guy that can move. He's a big guy, but he can move. He can do a lot of things. And if they're creative, he could be a very valuable part of the offense.
Yeah.
So I do think they're marginally better, but I don't think it's going to have like the impact that some people might have on their win-loss record.
Yeah, I agree. I can get behind that for sure.
Yeah, that's where I'm at with it. I guess the bigger macro thing is, it seems like I don't like this, that under Omar Khan we're gonna have like a lot of situations where we're trying to win the offseason, and it's just not the way that I'm used to the Steelers doing it. Maybe we've talked about this before. Maybe that's how the way you have to do it in the sport is. But in general, I don't think the team that wins the offseason is the team that ends up winning the Super Bowl mostly. I think that's something that you like. It's fun for fans to talk about and all that, but I don't know long term if it's something that they can sustain. I think you have to win through the draft. You have to win through development more than making these big moves, these big trades that they're doing.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. I mean, if you look at some of the I hate to even talk about the Patriots because I'm not a fan of them, but rarely would they ever bring in any bigger names that we had seen, and they had guys that that just fit the roles because they had a coach and coordinators that had a good scheme and they knew how to run it, and they did the same thing every year, and they were able to be successful and do what they needed to do. I know in the past, and this is only what we've seen over the past, maybe 2 years now, 3 years, where now since Omar Khan has come in, we've seen some wild faces come to the Steelers. We've seen some bigger contracts that we're not used to seeing, and the Steelers are spending money right now. We usually don't see that as well, and I think they're trying to maybe trying to now fit in with the rest of the league. But even though a lot of the league doesn't do some of this stuff and they're still able to win, I think they're just trying to, okay, we're the Steelers, we're back, we're trying to, compete and stuff. But I maybe the culture that they had before, maybe times have changed. Maybe it's a different culture. Maybe that's just what it is now. But I just think they're trying to show that they can do something, and let's hope that with the moves that they're doing, they actually are successful with it.
Yeah, and like there are teams like Saquon Barkley with the Eagles. That was a big move. But at the time, I mean, people weren't talking about like it being the best move of the offseason, even though it ended up being, in my mind, the best move that happened there. Other guys, like the Chiefs, they got rid of Tyreek Hill. Like their big moves really aren't like the flashy types, I don't think.
Yeah.
You brought up the Patriots. They did have Randy Moss the one season, but they didn't get a title in that season with him.
Mm-hmm.
The big 17-0 season. So yeah, it's interesting to see where it'll go. I think a lot of times when you have to make big moves like this, it shows that you're not doing other things right. It's a symptom of bad drafting or bad
Mm-hmm.
development if you have to go out and make these moves like that. Part of the reason that they can make it is because they haven't been spending money on quarterbacks. They got rid of the big contract with Ben once he retired and all that. So I guess that's something that's different because throughout the last 10 years or so with him, you did have to pay him the big salary, so you couldn't go and make flashy moves. So maybe this is something they would have done earlier if they didn't have a quarterback that they had to pay so much money to. But the other thing about the move is it's more money on defense.
Yes, I was just about to bring that up. Yes.
Money on defense. Obviously, Jonnu Smith is on the offense, so that is something there. But you're adding salary on defense. That I mean, at this point, how much can you spend on a defense that's aging too? So who knows? What are your thoughts if you want to expand on it?
Yeah, I mean that's they're going to be. I don't know. This might be the third, fourth year in a row now. They'll be the highest paid defense, you know, and that's where they're spending the money. And I get that a lot of times defense wins championships, but over the past few years, our offense hasn't been doing anything. They haven't been able to score points. They haven't been able to move down the field. You know, it's been a lot of it falling on Chris Boswell to make field goals and things like that, us getting into some type of field goal range. And if we're just going to be the highest paid defense again without being able to do anything, I mean, what is our identity then at that point? We're just spending money on defense and not putting money where we need to be scoring touchdowns. I mean, you can try to stop a team from scoring all day, but if you're not scoring yourself, what are you actually doing at that point? Are you even winning the game? You know, you have to also be able to score on offense. So it's just interesting again that we're spending all this money on defense, and it's if we were spending the money on defense and they were number one defense every year,
yeah, it's different.
It's different, but we're not doing that. So it's I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, like this isn't the Super Bowl defenses we had before.
No,
it's not the 2000 Ravens. It's not the Buccaneers. Like this isn't a team that is gonna like completely stop an offense. So you need to score some points too, and especially in today's NFL, it's maybe defense still wins you championships, but your offense is going to get you to the dance.
For sure,
and that's how I see it there. I don't know. I guess we took a little bit of the air out of the excitement of the big trade, but it is going to be interesting. It'll be fun to see this team play. They're making a lot between Rodgers and Metcalf, Ramsey. There's a lot of Hall of Famers on this roster.
For sure.
And that doesn't include the guys that are already on the roster. Speaking of one of those guys, TJ Watt, we talked about a little bit about him being unhappy with his contract. Now there's trade rumors revolving around him. Do you want to have any little comments or anything about what's going on there?
Hey, what are we doing? I mean, I get that the guy, we talked about this a couple weeks ago. He definitely has a little bit of a big head to himself too, and he's you know he's kind of a little bit full of it too. But he's the best defensive player, I think, in the league right now. Even though he is getting a little bit up there, I still think he's the best defensive player up there. And why would we get rid of him? If we get rid of Minkah and TJ Watt, what are we doing? Those are big names.
If they get rid of Minkah, or sorry, if they get rid of Watt, though, it's going to be more on his decision, I think.
For sure, yes.
Apparently, I don't have this as I don't think anyone's reporting this as like 100% certainty, but my understanding is that he's being offered the highest yearly salary of any non-quarterback.
Wow.
So he's that's supposedly the offer on the table right now. I don't know. That's usually how it works because like whenever someone like Garrett gets the contract, the next guy gets a better contract than Garrett. That's
Yeah.
kind of how the whole system works like that. That's how it works with the quarterbacks. Whoever's the next guy up usually is the guy who has the highest salary. Like if
Yeah.
you look now, I don't know exactly who it is, but I bet you like Mahomes isn't number one in salary this year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because he hasn't been up for it yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, if it's probably a ploy to get the deal done. But if it is the case, I just like I said in a couple weeks, I don't want him to come in when training camp starts and talk about how he's ready to go and all the other BS.
I agree.
Especially if he doesn't win a title. Win a title, and then I'll care.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's stupid to say. Maybe it's a little shock jock or whatever you want to call it. But it's I don't care until they win a title. And I say what you will about players of old and who you think is the best defensive player. He's going to be probably the best defensive player the Steelers have had that never won a ring. And if you list out all the other guys that will be in your top 10, I'm pretty sure all of them have a ring, except for Hayward. And I don't know if Hayward's going to be in your top 10. But I don't know. Maybe I'm being too negative.
No, I agree. And I if he wants to look for something else after that, go ahead, go do your thing. But how about at least try to be a leader and be a captain of this team, and and try to pull people together and get this defense going, and try to stay injury free, play the best that you can, and help us win a title. And if he comes out, I will say this: if he does come out during the preseason, I'm ready to go. I'm like, okay, maybe it's time to fucking move on. Let him. He's a prima donna. He's a prima donna. Go do his thing. Whatever. But yeah, if you spend all this money again and get nothing, what are you doing? You don't deserve to have a job at this point for this organization.
Yeah, I mean, and blowing it up, I don't know what you're going to do with blowing it up with this team because they do have a lot of draft picks at least. But since everyone's so old, I don't think you're going to get much in a trade for Watt. I mean, there has to be a team that is willing to pay for some draft capital, but I don't think it's a guarantee because of the salary he'd make. And then this time of the year, I don't know how many teams can even make a trade like that. I'm sure there's some, like I said before, but I don't know. If he goes, though, you're right, though, that without him and Minkah, it really does change the dynamics of that team. I don't know what they got a couple young pass rushers, but obviously you can never replace TJ Watt.
No, of course not. And I don't know. I don't know what the Steelers' identity for their defense is at that point if he's gone, and then just in general what their identity is if he's gone. Because we've seen the stats of when he's there and when he's not there, and how much they may have won one game without him being on the field, and when he's not there, they really need him. And I don't know what's going to happen if he's not there.
Yeah, I forgot all about that stat. That is an insane stat.
Yeah.
But overall, Steelers are making it exciting. Training camp is, I think, at the end of this month, right? You know when it starts by chance or no? It's end of July.
Yeah.
In training camp.
Yeah.
Preseason will come in August. So we always know that. There's one team that is still playing right now. Your Pittsburgh Pirates. They have won 6 in a row at this point. Donnie Kelly is now 26-24 as the manager. He replaced Derek Shelton, who was 12-26. So it's a big jump forward, but still they're currently 12 games under 500. I think that the season's over still, but it is nice to see a little bit of progress. And the pitching staff has been amazing for a long bit now. Especially this series here against the Cardinals. They just swept the Cardinals. They swept the Mets before that. Against the Cardinals, they didn't give up a single run.
Wow.
The offense has shown some life too, but I think it's a little too late. And it just highlights how bad of a manager Shelton was. Because their record under Kelly is about what I was thinking they were going to be, a little bit over 500. And then they had the opportunity to I think the over under if was like around 77 games, and they were on a 60 win season pace with Shelton. It just shows you like managing. You don't think it matters too much, but the Pirates are proving that wrong. I think.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's exciting to see things kind of slowly start to turn around for these guys and the offense get moving and things like that. And the pitching staff, like you said, has been amazing. Paul Skeens is just unbelievable, you know, and it is almost like night and day with this team since Shelton's been gone, and you know, maybe like you said, yeah, the season's over. Maybe if they can get this rolling, they'll get to 500 and they can continue this into next season and maybe have a winning record to where they maybe make a wild card or the postseason next year, and maybe it's been a little bit of a slow progression, but Donnie Kelly's been almost, a little bit about halfway, 50% himself, 500 team coaching right now. And maybe he can kind of get a plan going for this team to move forward into next season to have a winning record. So, it's exciting to see these guys kind of slowly get things rolling, and they're looking pretty nice out there. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, it could be interesting what happens at the trade deadline because they got the guys who are on single 1 year contracts. You're probably not going to see all of them go. But the question is, what are you going to do with Bednar now? What are you going to do with Santana now? Guys that could help you next season if you think you're going to be a wild card team. But maybe you can get something at the deadline that can help you next season as well. They just need so much offense. The big name is Mitch Keller, who pitched excellent today, 7 innings, no runs. I would hope that they keep him, but it's going to be tough if teams come at this deadline and give them some offers that are good offers that can give you some offensive production. I know everyone in town's terrified of the idea that Ben Cherington is going to be the one making these decisions, though, because I think he's a lame duck guy, and hopefully he doesn't make anything stupid move that can set the franchise back a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. Just hope that there's some better decision making, like you said, when come time to the trade deadline, and we'll just gotta hope for the best and hope that these guys can continue on the roll that they're on.
Yeah, it'll be fun to. I mean, if they can get to 500, I think it's a success for Kelly. I think he's guaranteed to come back at that situation. We talked a little about that when he first was hired. They're 10 games out of the wild card, but there's probably 11 teams ahead of them. So the idea that them getting there is, even if you take away the 10 game part, the 10 team part's more impossible. They would have to outperform a lot of teams the rest of the season for it to happen. So I think that's over. And I think that we're going to see a lot of young guys that get a shot come August and September, but we'll see. That's all I got on the Buccos this year.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, it's exciting to see these guys kind of get going. So, I'll be happy to see. Real quick, I just want to shout out OKC winning the NBA championship. Sending, hopefully, Tyrese Halliburton had that Achilles injuries, hoping for a speedy recovery for him. Florida Panthers won the Stanley Cup, so congrats to those guys too. What's been crazy I don't know if you've seen some of these, it's like now free agency for the NBA now that the season's over. Yeah. The one big thing I saw I think is crazy. The Bucks waived Damian Lillard, and they're going to be paying him like $22 million a year, and he's going to be going somewhere else. I think it's kind of shocked that they're still going to be doing that, and they only gave the guy 2 years with them. So,
yeah, the big thing with I think Giannis isn't happy.
Yeah,
but I don't think Lillard's going to play much next season anyway. I think that's part of the reason why they decided to make this move. Because I'm sure I don't know off the top of my head, but his cap hit was probably close to $50 million if they hadn't waived him. So they gave themselves some more money to spend this offseason. And I think long-term Giannis is still committed there. But if his name ever popped up on the trade wire, it would be very, very interesting to see.
Yeah.
LeBron, he signed or he opted into a 1-year deal.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like he might be trying to move again. That'll be interesting to see there. I think maybe Cleveland's a spot where he could go back to. They got some things going on.
That would be crazy.
Miami, going back to Miami too, just because they've been looking to get somebody and they keep falling short. The Kevin Durant trade to Houston.
Mm-hmm.
I think they were second place there. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. The East is completely wide open now with
Yeah,
the injuries for the Celtics and for Indiana. The Knicks? Are the Knicks the favorite next year? What are your thoughts?
It's a possibility. I mean, they
Uh-huh.
definitely they played well into the up until in the finals, or not to this was it the conference Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah.
They played well into that, and
Mhm.
they were a very dominant team. And I think they could be the team for the East because Dame had got hurt and Tatum got hurt and Halliburton got hurt, and
Yeah.
I don't know
By
really who
default.
else. And I don't know. I mean, maybe the Cavs, because
Yeah.
that's a possibility. But
I mean, that it would get fun if LeBron were to go there, I guess.
yeah.
At that point, they did just pick up DeAndre Ayton, the Lakers, on like a $34 million contract. I think it's just a 1-year deal. I could be wrong on the
Wow.
1-year deal part.
Yeah.
But that might be a sign that LeBron's saying, "Hey, we'll try one more year,"
Yeah.
especially with Bronny there. But I guess wherever LeBron were to be traded, I guess Bronny could be part of that trade also.
For sure. Yeah. For sure.
I guess that's not as big of a deal, because the only reason he's there is because he's his son. So yeah.
Yeah. For sure.
I don't know. It's interesting. I think the West is gonna obviously the side that's gonna be favored next year. You still have OKC and the Nuggets made some little moves here that I think are going to make them a little better.
Yeah.
We got Cam Johnson, who's actually a local guy. Initially Pitt, North Carolina. Then was with the Suns for a while. I think he's going to be pretty valuable in that offense because he's a spot up shooter. You got Jokic who's going to just feed him shots, and maybe he ends up having a good couple seasons with them. It'll be cool to see what he can do there. Anything else you want to talk about? Is there anything else in sports news this week?
No, I think that's about it. I don't think there's anything really big going on. But yeah, I think that's just a little bit left that's just going on. That's about it.
Yeah, we'll wrap it up there then, Lee. I'll see you. Have a good week.
Yep, I'll see you. Have a good one.
I'll see you. Enjoy your 4th of July.
Yep, you too.